Tomorrow, the Bulls will be taking on the Portland Trail Blazers, which will be their 18th game of the season. And why is that important? Well, maybe it's not that important, but since the NBA has been shortened to 72 games this year, it marks the quarter mark of the NBA season. And it's a good time to do a check-in and see where the team stands, how they're stacking up with the rest of the league. And on this channel, we're going to be doing quarterly awards, and I'll tie it back to my preseason award predictions and see how things have changed since then. I wanted to do this after the game tomorrow since that would complete the first quarter of the season, but it's been a while since the Bulls have played, and when the Bulls don't play, I make videos. So what's going on, everyone? You were listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. So before the start of the season, I did a little prediction for fun, since obviously these aren't real awards, but predictions on who would win the following awards for the Chicago Bulls roster specifically. And that would be most valuable player, most improved player, defensive player of the year, you get the picture. So for the Bulls most valuable player so far this season, I mean, no surprises here, but I've got to give it to Zach Levine. I know I've criticized his play occasionally on this channel, and I know a lot of Bulls fans have been giving me a hard time for that. But when he's your best player and you want him to take the team to the next level, you have high expectations of him. But really, no one even comes close to the kind of season he's had on this Bulls roster. Markkanen has played well, and Coby White has had a few good games here and there, but also some bad ones. Levine is averaging 27 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, and 5.3 assists. Those are all career highs for him. On top of that, he's shooting a whopping 50% from the field and nearly 40% from three. Those are very, very efficient numbers for Zach Levine. Those are also career highs for him as well. And he's also averaging 1.3 steals and even 0.6 blocks per game, which is a career high for him as well. So I have liked seeing the improvements from Zach Levine overall. I mean, obviously season after season he has continued to get better, and I think what I also like seeing most recently from him is his overall playmaking. I would obviously love for him to bring his overall turnovers down. He's averaging 4.3 turnovers a game, which is nearly one whole turnover higher than any of his previous seasons in his career. But I also understand a lot is put on his shoulders. You know, he's also been tasked more in running the floor with Coby's struggles, so naturally those turnovers are going to go up. My hope is he continues the way he has been playing most recently in getting his teammates involved, setting up plays, and facilitating the offense rather than just isolation scoring. So for most improved player, if you remember, I had Daniel Gafford winning this one for the Bulls, and mainly because his numbers were so low last season due to the limited minutes he received. I thought, well, this is going to be an easy jump for him this year given the potential he showed last year. But Gafford has really come up kind of short as far as being considered the most improved player. He's had some great games. I love the energy he brings to the second unit. But for most improved player, I'm actually going to go with Thaddeus Young. Now, this was a tough one for me because Lauri Markkanen has also greatly improved from last year. He's shooting the ball better, scoring at a higher rate, and being more aggressive on the defensive end. But Thaddeus Young has been leaps and bounds better from where he was last season. Now, if you look at Thaddeus's numbers from last year, they don't look all that different. He's actually averaging the same amount of points from last year, the same amount of rebounds more or less, but where he's improved greatly is his passing, averaging 3.6 assists per game. And he's also shooting 58% from the field, whereas last year he was only shooting 44%. And what doesn't show up in the stat sheet is the veteran presence and leadership that Thaddeus has been able to show in the second unit. Billy Donovan has used Thaddeus Young in the lineup to close out games. He really trusts in him to be able to be that closer. Now you can also tell he has a lot more confidence. He's happy about his role and what he adds to the team. I've said it before, but he's kind of been a night and day player from what we saw last year. I mean, we all knew he wasn't happy under Jim Boylen. Well, nobody was really happy under Jim Boylen, but he's really thrived in the later years of his career, now being under Billy Donovan. For the Defensive Player of the Year, I won't spend too much time on this one because Wendell's the Bulls' best defender. You know, we knew that going into the season. It's still the case now. as evidence given how the Bulls have struggled defending inside since he's been out. It'll remain to be seen whether he'll still hold this award after he comes back from injury, but for the first quarter of the season, he's been our best defensive player. Now, for the Sixth Man award for the first quarter of the season, I had actually predicted this would be Patrick Williams before the season started, and that's because I really didn't think he would get the starting spot over Otto Porter. But obviously, we now know that Patrick Williams has been starting at the small forward spot, and Otto has mainly been, coming off the bench, with the exception of a few starts that he got here and there when Markkanen was out. If you had asked me from the first couple of weeks who would be the Bulls' best sixth man, it would have been Otto, no question. He was, playing really, really well, really great basketball, scoring at an efficient rate, playing solid defense. But then he kind of fell off a bit most recently. He had to miss a few games here and there due to injury. He's still been a solid player for the Bulls off the bench, no question. But I actually think this is a bit of a toss-up. This award is a bit of a toss-up between Garrett Temple and Thaddeus Young. Like I said about Thaddeus, Garrett Temple has also been a great veteran presence, a decent perimeter defender as well. What's even more impressive about Garrett Temple is that if you look at his career numbers, he's actually getting better with age. Last season, he had one of the best years of his career in terms of just general, statistical numbers when he was playing with the Nets. And then this season, he's shooting the best he's ever had from the field, and he has a career high in three-point percentage so far. But if I had to choose between the two, I'm going with Thaddeus Young because he's been such a great playmaker for that second unit. His overall efficiency has been better than Temple as well. He's got a PER of 16, but honestly, it's pretty close between these two in terms of who's been the best player coming off the bench for the Bulls. The last two awards, I don't even really need to get into because they're a given. You got Coach of the Year, only one coach, so that's easy. I will say I have been pleased with Billy Donovan thus far, so far this season, in how he's been able to motivate the guys and change their mentality to focus more on team ball and working collectively as a unit. And you can tell the players are much more engaged and have even stated multiple times in interviews that the support and encouragement as well as discipline they get from Billy Donovan has really been valuable to them. I think it was even Thaddeus Young who said the difference between last year and this year has been night and day. Zach Levine has also stated in games where they came back from deficits and won that they would not have been able to do that last season. So it's clear the players respect Donovan as a coach and the direction the team has taken. Granted, there is still a lot of work to be done and things to improve, but the team is clearly in a better state than where they were last season under Jim Boylen. And then, the other award is Rookie of the Year, which obviously goes to Patrick Williams, especially now that he's the only rookie on the team, given the Bulls have transferred Devin Dotson. Patrick Williams, although recently has been in a little bit of a slump, if you want to call it that, I would say he's been meeting my expectations as a number 4 pick. He's shown great promise, solid defense, very confident and poised in guarding some of the best players in the league. And of course, he's actually been decent on offense, which I think most of us thought that would be more something that he would, develop a little more later on, which it still does, don't get me wrong, but his three-point shooting has been better than expected, and he has a great mid-range game. He just needs to continue working on his offensive game, and he'll be a great two-way player in the league in just a few years' time. Overall, as far as my expectations of the Bulls, a fourth of the way into the season, I mean, there are a lot of things that still need to be addressed, which I referenced multiple times in here, like taking care of the basketball. They have to limit their turnovers if they want to start winning games consistently, especially against good defensive teams. They need to improve their overall decision making and closing out games, and just better shot selection as a whole, and then moving the ball better and setting up plays. And then, of course, defense. I know a lot of these guys aren't known for their defense, but with Wendell being out for the next 4 weeks, they have to start getting scrappy on defense and at least put forth more effort in on the end of the floor, even if it's not even one of their strengths as a player. The Bulls are 7-10. Honestly, it's kind of where I expected them to be despite the ups and downs of the season. Knowing the tough schedule the Bulls were going to have in January, I actually didn't expect them to have a winning record or be at 500 for the first fourth of the season. Going into February, they have a much easier schedule, and despite not having Wendell, I do expect the Bulls to finish off the month with an overall record for the season at 500, or maybe, a game under or a game above here and there. I want to hear what you guys think though. Have the Bulls met your expectations so far this season? Do you agree or disagree with my awards for the players thus far? Let me know in the comments or join the Discord server where we discuss Bulls basketball there. I'll leave a link in the description to the Discord. I'll also leave a link to my initial video before the season began for these awards in case you're interested in seeing that. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, as always, and I will catch you in the next one.